we've got Mitch LaPoint. Mitch, who we got to talk with last year. Zach Wolchuk, good to talk to you again, Mitch. Mitch, how you feeling so far? This has been a crazy couple of days. You're able to move back. I do want to ask, like, how much were you sweating going back from 24 to 29? I know Jerry and Steven said you had about 4 guys in that cluster.
Oh, yeah.
That you were praying somebody would make it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sorry, I was just getting this on. So you're talking about which pick?
The moving back from 24 to 29.
It was like, we had a few guys there that we were really excited about. And it's like, you kind of roll the dice and see if this thing plays out. You look at the other team's needs, and you just never know who might want to come up to get one of those guys. I think everyone kind of knew we were in the business for an offensive lineman, whether it was Barton or Guyton. And I think we just kind of rolled the dice, and hey, we got one of the 2 guys we like, and we picked up a third. And then we got Cooper Beebe, which was fortunate.
Yeah, I think I was watching you after the Beebe pick, and you were sitting at the table when everybody else was kind of high-fiving each other, and I felt like you kind of had a moment to yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know who came up behind you, but he put his hands on your shoulders, and it's just kind of like, it's that feeling of, okay, I pushed this one through. I argued a good one. I fought hard for this.
Hey, thank you, Mitch.
Yeah,
thank you for that.
That's this guy. But I felt like at that moment, it's kind of like it's just that bit of satisfaction with all that.
No question. He was the highest rated guy. For me, he was the best O lineman in the 3rd round, guaranteed. He was my favorite guy.
Yeah.
The versatility, the way he plays, the demeanor. He's smart. He can play center. He can play guard. He's played demonstrated tackle. He's not an NFL tackle, but versatility, it just leaped off the tape. This guy's 48 game starter.
Sure.
He's been Big 12 Offensive Lineman of the Year twice. He's a Kansas City guy. Which you are. Yeah. Hey, Pooney was there from the Jayhawks, and it was a tough deal. But hey, I like Cooper Beebe better than Pooney, which we did like Pooney. But I got to go back to KU, and I got to tell these guys about K-State.
How much? It's funny. We've all talked just looking at the offseason. You guys lose Tyler Biadasz, and one of the things that we've talked about is that was a guy who had an edge and was sort of an enforcer and somebody who brought a certain attitude. That was something that you were going to need to replace along the offensive line. How big of that or big is that with Cooper Beebe? Because I think you see it on tape. You see that same sort of edge. You feel like, okay, well now we've replaced that part of it.
Yeah, I think every one of these 4 picks that we've had, you could kind of check that box. You know what I mean? Because Marist is the same way. He's kind of similar to Overshown, the violent play style. Marshawn he's high motor as it gets, and then with Cooper, he's the same thing. They set the tone, and I think hey, we know we need to get we want tough guys, on our roster, I
want to talk about that raw upside, obviously, that Tyler Guyton has during the evaluation process. How do you factor that in versus a guy who might have 40+ starts, but this guy has the traits and might just need more development? Does that excite you more than the guy who's more of a
Yeah, I think especially when you start talking about left tackle, because the guy's feet are unbelievable. His background playing basketball, everyone that you talk to, he just keeps getting better and better and better. I think we're going to get a better player than what we saw at Oklahoma. And the kid's the kid is great. He's kind of similar to our Tyler Smith. Tyler Smith is the way he can think on his feet. Just the way he has some personality, some edge to him. I think he's going to just keep getting better and better. And I just think, hey, the guy was a D lineman, tight end D lineman. He's only played O-line really for 3 years. So, it's just going to keep getting better.
Yeah, and I don't want you necessarily to compare these 2 guys, but going into the draft process, I think, at least around the media, the high upside guy with the traits was Amarius Mims. Mm-hmm. But still, Tyler Guyton is a first-round tackle in his own right. What makes him specifically so talented in that upside department to be able to bank on?
Well, the athletes, to me, for Mims and Guyton, there was a little different athletic ability. I think Mims is really elite as a pass protector because he's so long. But in the run game, he's still kind of learning. He's played eight games, I think, and I think in the play counts it was 200 or 300 less snaps than Guyton has played to tackle. So, we just felt like Guyton's, ready. If you had to play tomorrow, I felt like Guyton was more ready to play tomorrow and help us.
That's the interesting thing that I was wondering about with you guys. When you're making an evaluation, let's say you have 2 guys at a position, tackle, for instance, and you say, our projection out is exactly the same for these guys, that we think they're top-tier left tackles and ultimately going to be the same player. How does day one readiness affect the grade? Does it affect the actual grade number for you, or do you just say, hey, we're going to have the same grade because we're talking about projecting out?
Yeah, I think we put them kind of right next to each other, and then we have the conversation, and we start going back and forth in the war room or even during draft meetings. Hey, that's when we start having those conversations. Hey, we have to put a value on the guy during the fall, during the final grade, but that's different than when we start building the board and saying, hey, who would we rather take? But I think that's kind of what it comes down to. Yeah, that makes sense.
From a scouting perspective, and obviously not wanting to tip your hand here, but what do you think this department is looking for in a running back, potentially day 3 or even moving on forward?
Juice.
Yeah.
Bring the juice.
We need somebody that can frickin' make big plays and like has legit speed. That's what I think.
So there's not a lot of negative to look at Cooper Beebe or things that he doesn't do well, but athleticism is something that people have brought up. However, I wanted to ask you from a scouting
Overblown,
perspective.
Aisha. Come on, that guy can move.
Well, from a scouting perspective, I wanted to ask you, how do you quantify athleticism to being technically sound? Because there's not a lot of wasted movement from him, and I think that makes up for a lot of the lack of athleticism things. But I just want to ask you, even with other positions, how much do you quantify the athleticism to them just already having naturally technically sound traits?
No, I got you. Yeah, I mean, for us, one of the things with Cooper Beebe is, I mean, you don't see him on the ground.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And he functions at his positions. The guy's playing tackle at a high level. And then what he did at the combine is he confirmed like all that stuff. I mean, he blew it out of the water.
he tested well.
And then we're coming to find out, like, the more that you know about K-State is they make these guys wear ankle braces.
Okay, they're making them do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're almost like a 2-pound little deal
Yeah.
that they have on their ankles. And so if you ever watch those guys, it looks like they all have cankles.
Yeah.
And it's just the way they make them. But
I've seen
but anyway, it is tough because like sometimes a guy who's so technical does everything perfect, and then there's a guy who's raw who has athleticism. It's a tough divider. You know what I mean? I think the testing at the combine or the pro day kind of helps us confirm, hey, this guy has that athleticism.
That kind of reminds me of Steve Villa from last year, where it was like he's very technically sound, but people are like, "Oh, he's not super athletic." So thank you so much.
No,
for
it's
that.
good.
Mitch LaPoint, Director of College Scouting. Last question for you, Mitch. It's like you take a first-round offensive lineman for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
You guys we know he's going to end up being good. That's just kind of the track record that you have. What seems to be in your eye when you've been scouting these guys, and even if, hey, they need some developing, you know they've got the traits, they're checking all the boxes for us that we believe they're going to hit?
I just think like who the person is. I mean, you have to be able to fit in this locker room. You have to be able to love it. I think the more and more that you see our league now, there's not a lot of developmental time. We don't have a lot of practice on the OTAs.
Yep.
We don't even have training camp really anymore.
Yep.
And so it's like you need guys that are self-motivated, guys that want to be good, and guys who are going to make the locker room better. And I think every one of these guys that we've taken has that.
Mitch, you're awesome, man. Thank you so
No,
much.
that's great.
Thank you.
We
Yeah.
really
Good hunting
enjoyed
today.
getting to talk to you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean,
Oh, no,
we talked
you'll
about this
you'll get
last
it
year,
done.
but
Yeah.
this NIL,
Yeah.
it's affected today.
Yeah.
I mean, it really has. Our top 3 rounds, I think it was the best it's been in a long time.
Yeah.
But now I think we're going to start seeing this college football change kind of affect our process. It'll be interesting to see just kind of who survives there for us in the 5th and 6th and 7th.
Yeah, you fought through COVID, though.
We
You fought
did.
through the
You
COVID
did. We
game
did.
to get to this point.
No,
So,
we're good.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Well,
We got a
you'll
great staff.
adjust.
We got a great process,
Yeah,
and it
you'll
works,
adjust.
you know.
Yeah.
You
So-
guys are crushing it, man. Thank
Yeah.
you so much
All
for
right,
everything
thank
you
you
do.
guys.
We
Have a good
appreciate
one.
it.